Hello, hi everyone. So today, here I am going live in the group. I'm afraid later than expected due to a few technical difficulties. In fact, I'm just going to wave around this microphone slightly so that you can all see me. How are you all? I hope you're all well. I'm going to just give you an intro into how this is really going to work. So as just happened last week when I had guest speaker Gareth, who was amazing. Thank you so much to Gareth who came on. What I'd love you to do is if you are watching, then please say hello, or if you're watching on replay, put in a hashtag replay and let me know what you're thinking. If you agree, if you disagree, if this sounds like it's resonating with you, it'd be great to hear from you. So do say hello in the comments because I can wave back because I'm right here. Okay. On this week's episode of Presenting Accountants, I'm talking to you about the 5 traits that make a truly exceptional accountant. And I'm not going to be talking about technical traits, but I'm talking about those elements of an accountant that actually we don't learn about when accountants are training so much. They're the je ne sais quoi that makes a great finance director, a fantastic CEO. What is it that we see in exceptional finance leaders, and why does it matter? Well, this is the thing. You could have absolutely incredible skills in terms of what you bring to the table as a technician, we could say, even a finance manager. You could be absolutely on point. But unfortunately, if you do not have this softer side to the hard skills, what is going to happen? Well, not a lot, because actually it's those soft skills. I like to call them success skills, for one, that really help people to understand. So I'm going to go through those and why they are important. Okay. Well, first of all, let's think about some of the problems that we encounter with finance leaders and really what the, I suppose, issues can be that come up. And I really want you to think about yourself when this happens. And I want you to think back to any type of issue that has arisen, especially, I want to say, in the past year. And of course, this year, this is, of course, if you're listening back or watching this back at any time at all, certainly in less than a month away from this, this is November 2020. It's been an extraordinary year in terms of the challenges that we faced. However, I'm sure you're tired of hearing that now. However, that means that things have really blown up, emotions have been on edge. Especially as we're approaching the end of the year, people are tired, they're exhausted, they've been pushed to their limits. And that is something actually that we've seen, that these success skills, as I call them, have really been what's helped people step up, to be resilient, to be emotionally intelligent and aware of what's going on, of what people are maybe not saying, but what they are indicating that they need. And I mean, initially, any type of communication issue where people aren't understanding something, that is what they're asking. They are just, what is happening is that underneath it all, we are misunderstanding what someone is really asking for, what they need. So if you are having a heavy-handed reaction or an overreaction or an underreaction to something, either you are not communicating correctly to get that back, or they are not really quite understanding what's going on with them. And that means you have to dig a little deeper and understand what's going on underneath the surface, because they are surface level presenting information at you. And if there's a clash, like a mismatch of communication, that's what's happening. So initially, there are 5 things that we could say there are massive issues with when it comes to accounting and the problems that we have. And the first one is a really big one, and I see this all of the time, and that is imposter syndrome. Hands up. Hands up if you think you've ever. It's not something that's a constant. It's something that is there. And I was delivering some training this week, and that was exactly what came up. It's that fact that we don't sometimes put ourselves forward. We don't speak up at meetings or boardrooms, and we can be the most competent, most experienced, most overqualified person in the room, and we'll still feel like we're not good enough, that people are going to find us out, that if we almost step up and speak up too much, that we're going to be shot down. And it's that fear of rejection. Ultimately, imposter syndrome is a real fear of rejection. So that's one of the things that we can be really scared of, and it can massively affect the work that you do, because it means that sometimes you're playing it a bit too safe. And I'm not talking about safe with numbers, but I'm saying safe with your opinions, with your ideas, what really matters, what could really push forward a business. And I'm going to be really harsh here. I'm going to say that that's because imposter syndrome, we worry too much about what's going to happen to us. And the best thing you can do with imposter syndrome is really think, how much could this idea help someone? And if you really believe in it, focus on that, because you're going to be someone who really cares about what happens to the businesses you're working with. And if your idea, if you speaking up, if you stepping out stepping up, as it were, stepping out, can really help that business, then why wouldn't you do it? And it can be terrifying. And yes, you might be shot down, but nothing is going to happen that you can't handle. That's just one thing. Imposter syndrome is a huge, huge area, but every single successful person that you see, every face on Instagram or LinkedIn, every single one of those has imposter syndrome. Trust me. Okay, the next one is really poor presentation skills. I mean, really, one of those things is when we present, when we really, really speak well, it's not about being able to stand up and being able to deliver a PowerPoint. It's about being able to effectively convey an idea. So this is the question I have, because I've had this with several clients, is where they have a meeting, and then once the meeting is finished, the stakeholder is unclear about what they're meant to do next, or really what you're talking about. And that's not what you want, is it? As an accountant, that's not really what you want. So that's the thing. It's about being very clear about how you speak, about your body language, about not using too many words, about using eye contact. It's about using everything in your communication arsenal, voice, body language, eye contact, to deliver the information effectively. And that, because one of the biggest problems with people who work in accountancy, who are very skilled, very technical, very precise, very driven even, is that we get so bogged down by detail. And even I was with my coach this morning, and we were talking about one of the issues with my personality, but is that I can be very influential and outgoing, but I am very, very detail driven. And almost sometimes I have to work very hard. I can see a big picture, and that's the outgoing and the creative in me, and I can see the detail. But actually, that middle ground is where I am missing. So you really need to think about you. Are you good at detail? And usually, if you're an accountant and you're watching this, then yes, you are. However, if you're an entrepreneurial style of accountant, you might have that dominant outgoing trait, and outgoing tends to mean also big picture as well. So think about what you are saying. It's really great being detailed oriented. It's not a bad thing. I just want to really say that, because obviously that is fantastic for the job at hand, but not great when you're having to tell something massively complex, hugely complex, and you're having to squeeze that into something that someone can get in a bite-sized chunk and know exactly what you mean and understand why it's important as well. Because If you work in practice, for instance, you're saying, well, we need to get this job done and we need your accounts and we need this done now. There's always that misalignment, isn't it? Ongoing thinking you're making it look too easy, and then people don't value what you do. And that's always, so it's about being able to communicate what you do without jargon, communicate the detail and expertise in bite-sized chunks that people understand. Not so hard, is it? There's a bit of a skill. And that really is the thing. If you're unaware of how you work, none of this can be worked on. None of those problems will go away. If you are not completely aware of what you bring to the table in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly, who do you get on with? Who do you not get on with? Why? Because I guarantee you there's a particular personality type that you have issues with, or when people are in a particular emotional state that you find it difficult to navigate. I mean, there's a reason why there are whole streams of workshops and topics on difficult conversations. It's not pleasant. Some people dive right into them. Most people, we don't like conflict. It's very hard. It's not just the legal side. It's really emotional. And we don't understand, when we don't understand our emotions, how we react, what's important to us, then we are already starting out and setting out to fail, because you have to have that high level understanding of how you work to really be effective, especially in finance. Finance might be dealing with technical things, but you have to reach a broad width of stakeholders and get them on board and be able to understand and communicate something that's very valuable, very technical, in a really great way. And it sounds overwhelming, but you can do it. Shall I share with you how? I totally will. So the first one, which I've pretty much already said, so these are the 5 traits. I'm going to break into these now. The 5 traits of massively effective accountants is the first of all, you have to be eyes wide open. Absolutely, eyes wide open to yourself, to your personality, to what is going to happen, to your personality traits. So the first thing I'd recommend is really having a look. If you haven't already, get a personality profiling tool done. I do DISC. So anyone who works with me, they have to do a DISC report. I use DISC specifically out of all. There are loads of them. There's Myers-Briggs, there's Insights. A lot of people use them only to recruit, which I think personally is a mistake, because they are such a valuable tool to help you know about you. And the most important thing is, a lot of them indicate that that's just the way you are and there's no changing it. And that's not true. Our personalities do change, even by a fraction. And with DISC reports, that's why they say it's about traits. It's just a preference. It's a personality preference. We can change. And one of my values is that, cheesy as it sounds, I really do believe people can change, because haven't you? And if we can't change, well, every story, every brilliant story throughout history requires someone having some sort of transformation. And if we can't transform, really, what are we doing? So I very much believe people do change. So you need to be really aware. And especially this year, because what actually causes personality changes is high stress, big events. So losing loved ones, being under pressure, going through trauma, going through grief. All of these things do have an impact on our personalities and what we deliver to the table. So it's really important, actually, you have a clear understanding and take a moment to reflect on yourself. And I've been doing some surveys recently into this and actually asking the question this year, since lockdown, has anything surprised you about yourself? So I'd like to ask that to you, and I would love it if you contacted me and shared with me. I won't say anything, of course, about your name. I'd just be really interested to know. And do, if you're watching this live, post it, post it in the group. I'd love to know if anything's changed you. Some of the responses I've gotten that people have said, I didn't realize actually how innovative I was. I didn't realize how I reacted under pressure. I was a lot better, a lot faster to adapt than I thought I was, a lot more adaptable. That's a better way of putting it. Um, and that's the thing, we can surprise ourselves, and you might be surprised in a negative way. And if anyone's thinking, I wasn't good, I didn't cope, I didn't, I really suffered, I've not done as well, I felt let down. Well, can I say, first of all, I felt like that too in June specifically. In the UK here, we had a period of time where lockdown was being phased out, and a certain amount of professions and work were allowed back into the world. And my husband, he has a job where he was released into the wild, and he works 6 days a week. So I was on my own at home with our young child working, um, and I was on my own 6 days a week. And I'm a very social person. I need people. So I was already struggling. And at that point, I remember having a feeling where I thought, I am so disappointed in myself because I thought I'd do so much better. I thought I'd be better at this. So that's me being a bit honest with you about that. But it's so true. It's so true. Um, Absolutely. Sometimes we can be, but that surprised me about myself. And I think that surprise really showed me what was important to me. So that's why I say wide awake, because you've got to be really aware of what you need as well. What do you need? I need people. I need not to be isolated. I need not to be locked in with a toddler. I think is what I really discovered. I love my son, I really do, but that was a challenging time for sure. Um, so this is what I mean, understanding what you need from a situation, and also why will tell you so much about why you might be having problems, understanding people, having people understand you, getting on with people, not getting on with people. All of these things are unlock so much if you have that understanding about yourself and you're wide awake about your requirements and the way you work. And that brings me to my next one, the best trait. And this is certainly if you're going into finance in this kind of finance partnering arena that we find ourselves in. It's a very big thing that's coming up, and that is being able to forge strong allies. So having allies, having relationships on your side that you can call upon, that can call upon you, is absolutely essential. And it doesn't mean you have to be everyone's best friend, but it means you have to be able to have relationships that matter, that are strategic, that help the business, that help you, that help someone else. Have to be able to forge absolutely strong, reliable relationships. And again, to do that, the next element, so far we've got being wide open, eyes wide open, we've got forging strong allies, and the next one is being absolutely clear on your values, on your value drivers. Name 3 of your values that you live by right now. And I'm not talking about some cheesy words that are written up on the wall somewhere or on your company's slogan. And I do know some brilliant, brilliant companies that really do have their values driven into the heart of their companies. In fact, I'm going to shout out to Alistair and Luke from Flinder, who I think is a really great company who absolutely live by the values in the company, and their values drive almost every decision and behavior. And they are onboarded with their employees. It really does help bring this culture together of a business, of a team, and really makes it very clear about what they're there to do. So having an idea of your values as a person as well, being very clear on what matters to you, as I said before, actually helps you make decisions, and it helps you understand why what you can prioritize and what really works for you. And sometimes we end up finding that we can really ignore what deeply matters to us, or a situation can make us feel slightly uncomfortable, but we don't really know why. We've not really thought about it. And when I work with my clients, and the reason why I've said values is because every time I've worked with a client and we have done my reveal report. So reveal report is what I do first of all before I coach or mentor a client. And the reveal report is the DISC profiling, and then we go through behaviors. So how do you interact and react with people? What are your blind spots? That kind of thing. And we compile in a 90-minute session a detailed report on who they are, on what matters to them. And every single client I work with, the problems they experience, the lack of confidence, even their presentation skills, all come back. Any problem they've had have come back to their core values. And I'll end up saying, no wonder that's a problem for you. This is because this is what you need and this is what you value. And they'll go, whoa, oh, of course, it all makes sense now. And it really does help so much. So that's why I say values is so important. Values is so important. And even now, I think if it's for me, I couldn't really tell you what mine are, but I have a very clear idea. For instance, what would make me feel uncomfortable, what I'm not okay with, and what I am okay with. So, for instance, being a value is about change. People change. Will I will always believe that people change, and I'll always believe that in rehabilitation. Personally, I mean, yes, we could say that's a belief rather than a value, but my value is somewhere a word that encompasses the belief that if we want it, we can do it. Which I suppose, there you go. If we want it, we can do it. That's one of my values. Maybe I'm going to write that down. Maybe I'll stick on the wall behind me and see what happens. Anyway, back to the 5 points. So that was values. The next one is how we express ideas that create actions. So I've already really talked about this in terms of the most successful accountants and FDs and finance managers and CFOs are able to effectively communicate what needs to happen, what is happening, and the value of that using storytelling skills. They are able to express an idea that creates action throughout everyone that listens to them. It's a massively valuable skill. It doesn't mean you have to be a TEDx style performer, but it does mean you need to be able to clearly communicate what is happening. And that's even on a fundamental leadership, fundamental management tool. And even if you're ever in the face of things, standing up for something you think is wrong, you need to be able to clearly express that idea so it generates an action. And that's one of the traits that the best people, the most effective, the most exceptional accountants have. And finally, it is success skills. Having a repertoire of success skills. Again, you don't need to be a TEDx level accountant, but to do all of the other things and to be really effective. Accountants now, you wouldn't have thought it before, but accountants now have to be able to speak well, to present, and even more so, show up on a camera effectively to have relationships. So they have to have these soft skills. You have to have interpersonal skills. You have to have emotional intelligence, a higher level of what they call EQ, emotional intelligence, so that you can understand why people are behaving the way they are, so you can understand your emotions and why they're happening. So having effective presentation skills isn't just about being able to market your business. It's about every communication that you have and being amazingly effective so that you can be really, really influential in your field, so that you can really affect people and so that you can connect with anyone you meet with. So that really handily If you put all of those together, what you get is the way that accountants make waves in their field, in their roles, in their jobs. They are wide awake with the way they work and their behaviors and their personality. They have allies in every single avenue. They're very good at creating those strong relationships that aren't just face value, that they can call upon, that they can utilize, that help them and the businesses they're in. They have a strong idea of their value drivers and what their purpose is when it comes to the role that they are in and why they do it and what matters to them. They are able to express ideas very clearly, and they have the success skills to help them in any situation that they require beyond actually the numbers. So if you're even with data analytics now, you have to have that job as the translator to be able to say what they are and why they're important and what to do next with them. That's the whole point of data analytics. You need to be able to convey to someone what the value of them is, because it's not their job to know. It's your job to know. And you know, because that's the technical skill, but unless you can convey it to someone else. So handily, that spells out waves. That is how accountants make waves in accountancy. And those are the 5 most important traits. So I'd love to know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did you recognize and think, oh, yes, wow, I need some of that? Do let me know. I'd love to hear from you. Contact me either on the comments here or in the group, Limitless Accountants. So I'm talking in the group. Hello now, if you are listening. And I'd love to know what you think. And if not, what you can do to find out a little bit more about yourself. And this has been updated recently. So if you've taken it before, you might want to take it again. Have a look at the scorecard that I have that asks you the questions to see whether you do have influence and what impact you make in accounting and if you make waves. So go through it, ask you questions on each of those 5. And it's at www.speakingambition.scoreapp.com. Okay. So if you go there, let me know, first of all, and then we'll see how you do at making waves in accountancy. And if you need any help, just get in touch. And that's it from me today. Hope you're all going to have a fantastic week, and I will speak to you soon. In fact, make sure you're around next week because I have a fantastic group of people that are going to come on. I'm going to announce it, I think, on Monday, who are going to come and chat to me next Thursday, 4 o'clock in the Limitless Accountants group on Facebook. And they are all going to be talking about what got them through 2020, what resources, what helped them be resilient, what helped them. They're all practice owners. They're all highly, highly regarded in their field. They're award winners. They are smashing it in all sorts of places, and it has not been easy. And they're going to come and talk about what helped them. Okay, thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to see you then. Bye.